Hey, good morning, folks. Good morning, good morning. Can you believe this weather? Oh my gosh. Get rid of those. Yeah, it's beautiful out. I think somebody said it's supposed to get up to close to the 80s today. I can't believe that. Good morning, good morning. Let's see who's going to join us today. We have a talk about needles. Oh, here we go. Folks are starting to come in. Drop us a comment. Let us know who you are, where you are. Love to know who's watching us today. Welcome, welcome. A little slow getting going here. I don't know. The weather, my hands are so cold. The weather's so nice. So, all right. Well, we're coming on. We're just past 5 past the hour. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here. I have to stop saying that, don't I? Okay. So if you've been in the shop or you've been on the website, you know that we have a ton of needles and we have a lot of them. A lot of times you go into a shop and you can always tell what the owner likes because they've got all of one kind of needle or two kinds of needles and stuff. When you come in and take a look at ours, we have, I don't know, maybe 6, 8, 10. We have a whole lot of needles to choose from in every size. So we may not always have every needle in every size, but we definitely give you an option. And the reason for that is because different needles for different projects, different people like different needles, and we don't like to limit you to this is what we carry, so this is what you have to have. It just doesn't work for us. We're kind of more fly by nighty kind of people and all of that stuff. So anyway, when I'm on some of the Facebook groups that I sort of visit and hang around with, I see a lot of folks, they ask a question. I'm going to treat myself, or it's my birthday and I want an interchangeable set of needles or something. What should I get? Nothing makes me cringe more than that. No one should tell you what to buy unless you're a brand new knitter. And in that case, we guide you with your first set of needles. And then after that, we show you some of the other options, let you try them. We have a big bucket of needles for you to try all the different ones. And the needle choice really comes down to your personal preference, folks. You need to know how you knit and the project you're going to be working on. So if you're a beginner, then I need to move my notes. I was told not to keep them down low because I was looking down all the time, looked like I was sleeping, and now I got them up here. I got to figure this out. So if you're a beginner, then a number of shops will start you off with a straight needle. Morning, Barbara. Morning, Marla. We do a bamboo needle like these here, Chaigus bamboo. They're a little bit sticky, so as a beginner, you're not going to be frustrated with your stitches falling off the needles. But once you're done with your first project and you've learned how, we will help you work out into finding out what other needles you like depending on your project. So knitting needles are generally made out of wood or metal. There are also plastic needles. So we have some wood options here. We have Dreams and we have the Chaigu that I just showed you. And there are plastic needles and there are custom needles. There's even somebody who has made them out of gold. I'm not quite sure why we want to use a gold needle, but maybe there's something really special about it. I don't know. But which material you choose really comes down to personal preference. Metal needles tend to be more slippery, but they're great if you want your stitches to fly off the needle. So the wooden needles come in standard in the knitting world. Wood needles can be made of hard wood that offers needles an even knitting speed and a smooth finish, warm and softness to the touch that the metal and acrylic needles lack. Bamboo needles are often cheaper alternative to traditional wood needles with the same warmth warmth and softness, but they often depend on the finish you're knitting. Often, depending on the finish, your knitting will likely drag more on bamboo needles. And again, bamboo is environmentally good because bamboo grows so fast and so prolific in certain parts of the area. So the bamboo obviously are more preferable to newer knitters who are getting the hang of keeping their stitches on the needle. Metal needles are most often crafted out of aluminum, but can also be made from brass, nickel, and titanium. They're more durable than the wood or the plastic counterpart and offer knitters faster speeds while knitting off the smoothest surface. They're particularly useful for yarns that tend to catch and can make knitting with them smoother and less frustrating experience. Metal needles also provide the classic clicking sound. Some people enjoy the sound of knitting needles at work, while other people just dislike that sound and they look for quieter options. So, plastic knitting needles. So, my feeling is there's so many other choices available. Plastic needles should not even be on your radar screen, but there are some people that prefer to work on them. So these are the marbles by Knitter's Pride. They're really pretty. Every size is a different color. And these are the Bryce Bun. A lot of people really like these. You'll notice there's a long tip, and I'll be talking about tips shortly. These happen to be double points. Excuse me. They will, over time, from the heat of your hands, start to bend. And we have had some people come back and they need to replace some of their needles because they've just bent that much. You can heat them up in warm water and try to straighten them. It doesn't always work. The only time I really recommend using plastic needles are the real big ones. I love them, although we do have a wood option. But for the price and for the number of projects you're going to do with these really, really big guys, I think these are 50s, but they also come in 36s. So there's those. Those pretty much we offer plastic ones. So sizing. First, we're going to talk about sizing conventions. Knitting needles come in all the different sizes. As I've just showed you, the sizes are numbered. In the US sizing, the smaller the number, the smaller the needle, and the thinner yarn you're going to be using, obviously. Needles often list both the US and the metric size. Make sure you know which number is which, because a US size 7 is very different from a 7 millimeter. Not the same creature at all. And just to make some things more confusing, if you are using a pattern that is an English pattern, a British pattern, their sizes are entirely different as well. They go in the opposite direction. The higher the number, the smaller the needle. So is that going to totally confuse you? So if you think you're using a 7, that's actually going to be kind of a bigger needle than our 7, and your project will be totally off. So you really need to make sure where your pattern comes from, who's written it, and what size needle they're talking about. Your project will dictate the size of the needle. Are you working from a pattern? It will suggest a needle size. Remember that word, suggests a needle size. And it's a good place to start. Your gauge could be off and you may need to use a different needle size. Again, as I talked the other day, your gauge really needs to be on spot for garments that are going to fit. I'm off a little bit here. Whoops. If your garment is a shawl or a scarf or something like that that doesn't really matter, then it's really, you don't need to worry too much about the size of the needle. Use something that you're comfortable with that yarn. Most of the yarn labels will give you a needle size on there. So it's easy peasy, folks. They're going to tell you what to use or where to start. Anyway, that's your starting point. So do that. Needle tips. Needle tips should also be considered when you are purchasing needles and your project. So as you can see here, I have a pretty pointed one, a rounded tip, and another one that's fairly pointed. So we'll talk about those. If you're working a pattern that has a lot of stitch manipulation, like cables, lacework, or if you're a tighter knitter, you're going to have an easier time with a longer tapered needle because you can get that into tight spots. If you're knitting with loosely spun yarn, or you're a relaxed knitter and have looser stitches, then one with a rounded tip might be, you might prefer that. So then we go on to, we talked about the material, we've talked about the points and the selection that we have here at Craftworks and why we have such a huge selection, because everybody's preference is different and really knitting is all about preference. So we have at least 4 or 5 different needles in every size and every length for you. Just ask Diane. She's the one who does my inventory most of the time. And the receiving, Sarah has to receive, and Stacy. And it's, you know, we get 2 or 3, 1 or 2 of each size in each needle, and they're all pulling their heads out and their hair out, whatever. Okay, so then we go to straights, circulars, or DPNs, which are the double pointed needles. So here's a secret. You can use a circular needle for anything. Flat, in the round, small circumference, hello, magic loop. Large circumference, a circular needle will do it all. When in doubt, grab a circular needle with a cord that's at least 24 inches and you're good to go. So we'll talk about interchangeable needles in a few minutes, but just basically, so here's one for you, all right? And I do this. I do a lot of weird things. Many of you know that. So if I'm working something that has cabling or lacework or something, I will use a wooden needle on the end that works the right side. And when I want to come back faster, I put a metal needle on the other end. Now, the only time those two are going to make a difference, again, is if you're doing a fitted garment and your row count makes a difference. Every needle and every material that it's made in, even though it's a 7, or a 6 or a 0 or 0, 0, they're all going to be slightly different. Okay, it's just the whole nature of the manufacturing. And that's one of the reasons that many people have several different needle gauges in their kits, because you should really use the needle gauge that goes with the needles that you're using. So like a Chaigu would be the little black Chaigu needle gauge. Just for a reference. I mean, but you can use a basic one and it'll slide in. It'll be a little bit looser, but it really won't fit in a smaller size or a larger size one. So yeah, that's one of the weird things I do. The other thing I do, people will say, well, what's your preference, metal or wood? If I'm sitting at home watching TV and I just want to keep whizzing through stuff, I will switch to a metal needle. If I'm in the car and there's always potholes or bumps or turns or whatever, I will switch my knitting over to a wood needle that will go a little bit slower. And if we do hit a bump, not too many needles are going to fly off not too many stitches are going to fly off the needle. So there really is, it's a personal preference, folks. It's a personal preference, and personal preference by the yarn that you're using as well. So circular needles, they will hold the weight of your project, which makes the whole process much easier. Have you ever tried to put 150 stitches on a straight needle? Really tight, depends. And they're also great for traveling because you don't have a single needle anymore to drop, fall off, fall out, or whatever. You can use circular needles for making just about anything that's flat or circular. Just if you are doing something flat, please don't connect it. I can't tell you how many people come in and they have inadvertently just kept going in the round, which is why you really want to use a needle that's quite a bit larger than what you need, because you're going to have a hard time joining it. And you're not going to be able to join it. And it's going to say, oh, duh, I'm working on something flat. I don't need to join it. So anyway, there you go. So as I mentioned, circular needles can be fixed. So these guys are fixed. They're all connected. Or they can be what we call interchangeable. Oh, what happened to my interchangeable? Somebody came in and moved everything around. Stacy, what'd you do? I have pictures of them. Oh, here we go. Okay, so an interchangeable set comes like this. Whoops, sorry for the light and the reflection. So you have the needle and you have the metal connector, and then you have a bunch of wires that will screw into the connector and a tool to tighten it up for you. The interchangeables are really great because you have every size and you have every length when you need it at home. And the interchangeable tips can be purchased separately like this, and then you can purchase all the cables. So you can just keep adding cables if you need them. So that really helps. Obviously, the set of interchangeables is going to cost a lot more money than just buying them individually. And my recommendation, again, if you are looking for some and you don't know what you want and you don't have a whole lot of individual needles, go ahead and buy a few. You never have enough needles. Whoops, I'm dropping them all. These are what the Chigu mini sets. So if you're really traveling and you're short on space or whatever, these are the length of these tips. Are they teeny tiny? Whoops, I'm dropping them. And they have cables as well. And the cables can go as large as you need them to go. But those are just really cute. And they fit in this little pouch. And it's just so cute. It's easy to carry in the bottom of your backpack, in the bottom of your knitting bag, so you always have the right size needle. It's no worries. So there we go with the circular needles. I hope I covered it all. And they do come, the tips come in metal. They do come in what they are, the royals. So you have the comfort of the wood in your hand, but you have the metal tip for the stitches to slide off nicely and easily. Again, we carry mostly the Knitter's Pride because the cables will work on any of the Knitter's Pride needles. So you don't have to worry about having a whole bunch of different cables and then trying to put a cable in. You grab a cable and a tip, and then you find that you don't have the right set. So that doesn't work. But not everybody loves circular needles, and that's okay. And that's why we carry all the others. We have double pointed needles, also known as DPNs, or straight needles. One isn't any better than the other, I promise you, unless you want to or need to work in the round. Then your straight needles just won't work. So the next thing we have are the DPNs, double pointed needles. They're straight, they're short, and they would be the perfect choice for you. Let me try to tip these so that you don't get too much of the glare. They have points on both ends. So to work in the round, they come in different sizes of lengths. There's a 5-inch, a 6-inch, and an 8-inch. They usually come 5 needles to a set. They used to come 4. Now they come 5. So it makes it a little bit easier to work around. And there usually is for baby hats, regular hats, when you get up to the top and your regular 16-inch or 9-inch circular needle won't fit anymore, you'll switch to double point needles. Unless, of course, you're using magic loop, then you don't have to worry about it. When you think that we've figured it all out, Addi, a German company, just came out with Flexiflips. Actually, they're not just. They've been out for a little while anyway. So Flexiflips are a new way. A few people, when they do the work in the round, they've actually used two 24-inch needles. And that works as well, and very similar to this. So this is a needle that is like a double point. It's got 2 points on each end, and it's connected by about a 1-inch cable. So it bends and it flexes. So instead of having 4 needles working their way around, you now have 2 needles, and you knit onto the 3rd needle. The thing that's nice about these, they do come in all the sizes. I'm not sure how large they come. I know they come 8s, I believe a little bit larger. The thing that's nice about these, do you notice the tips? Whoops, let's see. We have a rounded tip and we have a pointed tip. So depending if you're doing cable work or interlock or something different with your socks or the hat, you can actually pick which tip you like better. So that's really cool. So again, we're doing a tube and we're not getting ladders. And we are just going around knitting in one, and it actually flattens up nicely, which the straight needles obviously do too, to work in. So that is the Addi Flexiflips. All right, so we've done those. We've done the Addi Flexiflips. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention square needles. So we are a huge proponent of square needles. Do I know where they are right now? They're right here. Okay. They are ergonomically correct. So instead of having a round needle that you're always kind of holding really tightly to hang on to and keep it from slipping, and this little muscle up here is getting a workout, we have a square needle, which is ergonomically correct. Your fingers just sit nice and flat. I'm not sure about the science that goes with it, but you get a much more even stitch, consistent stitch. And we had a sock here for a long time, or a tube that we had used, and a different knitter knit. I mean, every round was knit by 2 or 3 different people. You could not tell where one person started and one person ended. It's just they're ergonomically correct. We have them in double pointed needles, we have them in straights, and we have them in the interchangeables. The company that made them did go out of business, but my understanding is somebody else has picked them up and is starting to do production. Yes, I see all those hearts. I know, we love them, don't we? I did buy a huge stock, like several $1,000s worth, so that we would have them when the company went out of business. So we do have a good selection of needles, and we still have them. So don't worry about it. We still have a lot of square needles for you. I do believe I've covered them all, except for one set that used to be around a lot with the clover. They kind of come back with these 2, I forget what it's called, 2 gals who knit or something. So this is a rosewood, nice finish to it. And it has an end at the bottom, so your knitting won't fall off. It's flexible like a circular needle. And this little toggle is to keep your knitting sort of up gathered a little bit, if you will. So if you're using something, you don't need it to slide all the way down here. You're using 2, so it's like a straight needle, but it goes down, it's flexible here. So it's going to flip flop, and you don't have those long. If you're using a 14-inch needle, your wings don't have to be out to accommodate the wing. The only time the 14-inch works really well is obviously if you are, is it Scottish knitting, where you park one needle under the arm and knit that way. But anyway, so folks, find a local yarn shop, one that has a basket full of different needles, give them all a try. Or if you're trying to decide on what to do, purchase a couple of different ones. Purchase the sizes that you normally use. If you do a lot of fingering weight yarn, you might want to grab some 4s. Grab a metal 4, grab a pointed 4, and Addi Turbo. There's just a whole bunch of different ones. And give them a try. See what you like. Then make your decision and make the investment into a set. All right. Everybody give me a shout out there. Let me know you're here. Write in the comments. And I think today we'll probably give up a set of Flexiflips, and you get a choice. You get a choice of what size you want. So give me a shout out in the box here. Let us know you're here. Let us know what you think. I do have see a lot of people who like the square needles. Yep, they are great for the hands. Oh, Shay, you need to buy more. Well, we've got them. So, all right, folks. So give me a shout out. Let me change. Camille has had a set for almost 50 years and she loves them. Hey, Kirsten, how are you? Kirsten just started knitting the other day. So, Shirley, you're late. That's okay. You can always watch it. It is recorded. It is on the website. Get all that information about the needles anytime you need it. So, folks, thank you for joining us today. Oh, wait. I know it's going long, isn't it? I'm sorry. Where are you going to store them all? So we have several different selections for that. People are always like, oh, what do I do with my needles? They are all over the place. So this is it's like an upholstery weight fabric. It has a Velcro tab, and inside are a whole bunch of Ziploc baggies, and you can put all your different sizes. Like mine have all my 9s are in here. I don't worry too much about the length because I can look at the length and know what I need, for the project that I'm doing. So that's not a problem. We do have Chigu has a really nice, this one happens to be a vinyl case, but we have plastic ones and stuff. You can put all your tips in there. There's a bigger pocket. And this one does not have an extra pocket for notions and stuff, but there are several that have like an extra pocket for notions. One of our quilters makes these fabric ones and they roll. So you can put all your different sizes and they slip into the top here so nothing's going to slide out when you roll it up and close it. And these all tie. And we have short ones and we have long ones depending on what size needle, how many needles, and all that good stuff. All right, Barbara, you want to try those Flexiflips? I got you there. All right, well, folks, thank you so much. Let me know, jot down there what you think we should talk about. Should we do Mondays or Tuesdays or Monday afternoon? Those are a couple of options that people had given us for when they would like to see the live portion come on. The live portion is great to attend because you get a chance to win something. So this week it's Flexiflips and you can choose what size you want. I believe we have 0s to 8s. Folks, have a wonderful weekend and I look forward to seeing you all here. We will do 11 o'clock on Monday next week just to get started. Maybe I should make that Tuesday or Monday afternoon. I'll post it on Facebook because I really want to listen to Charlie Baker to hear about the opening. We are probably going to be in phase 2 for opening, but we want to listen to it and see what's going on. So folks, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great weekend and we will catch up with you next week. And remember, we're 1 week closer.